Hi everyone, this is Nikki Yu from Awesome10X and you're watching the Philippine Market Update. Let's start with the markets. Okay, Philippine markets first. Let's see the most top traded and most active. So top traded name in the Philippines, ASEN trading at 12.1, ICT 183, Converge hitting 33, Mondenison 16.34, your SM is still 990, BPI 87, URC 140, BDO 130, Jollibee 244. So Jollibee is a strong mover today, up 4%. Ayala Land is 36. PLDT is still 1670. Your Semirara is climbing back to 29 bucks. Wilcon is 3165. AC, Ayala Corporation, is now trading at 880 pesos, a level that has not been seen for quite a while. Now, let's take a look on the most active space. So, aside from ASEN, so actually, most of your top 10 names are the usuals. Top gainers for the day would be Wilcon and Jollibee. Wilcon and Jollibee. And Semirara is, at least it's going and bouncing up. Okay, a lot of people in the area, in the Philippines, are all asking about the Synergy Grid IPO. So let's also read the news for that. But before we proceed with that news bit, PSEI is trading at 7.5 billion pesos value turnover, now 7,200. We are near a topish area here, about 7.2. So you're seeing people doing a lot of profit taking. So what are the issues that are going down? So most shares are down, all shares are down. Some financials are getting some profit taking. A little bit of industrials continue to get up, go up, but all the rest seems to be on a downtrend. Actually, not a downtrend, but more like it's not yet considered a reversal. It's not yet a downtrend, but we are seeing a bit of a difficulty. It's more like a crawl, a crawl up. So at least your Jollibee is 244, URC is 140. If you ask me, that is quite a magnanimous move given that we are seeing high oil prices worldwide. So inflation is actually going to eat up on consumer spending. So if it's my personal view, I think that these rallies are supposed to be sold. Jollibee here about 244, even if it goes higher, is more of a selling area. Same for URC at 140, even if it goes 150. All right. So for banks, we're still seeing strength. You're seeing BPI hit 87. Your BDO is at 130. And yet, don't be too confident because people might actually be on the selling prowl if they rise 3% or 5% within the month. No, I don't know if it's gonna take a month or 2 months, but any rallies on the banks kind of will have a lot of resistances as well. So we are seeing that the index is actually hitting quite huge resistances so far. That's why the market sentiment is all situated in the upcoming IPOs. So in the upcoming IPOs, let's just go for the edge as well. A lot of people have been asking this upcoming IPO, which is National Synergy Grid. So actually, most view disclosures are seeing Wilcon press release. Let's just read through this. That's why Wilcon is up. Declaration of so you've got Security Bank declaring dividends, Globe press releases. Okay, let's just go through these disclosures as well. Wilcon is posting an income of about 1.87 billion pesos. So for quite a while now, Wilcon has been always proving itself to actually be a profitable entity even during the pandemic, and the market actually paid the premium for Wilcon. Just read through this, guys. Wilcon posted 1.9 billion pesos net income. The income grew 100% year on year. 9 month sales, net sales is 20 billion pesos. This rose 27%. Third quarter net income grew 16.5%, 16.7% year on year to 622 million. Now, note that this was driven through higher net sales, which means a lot of people have been constructing their houses, furnishing it up. So take a look at this. Even if there was a COVID pandemic for 2021 in a strict quarantine level, the stores weren't closed and comparative sales even grew 17%. Guys, this is amazing for Wilcon because the supermarket, which is essential, has been having a difficulty to grow. But notice the iba yung house purchases, iba yung house furnishing. We're talking about millions here, and yet their sales grew. So net sales are actually already, you're seeing here, 6.62 billion pesos in about 2 months. despite the mobility recording highest number of daily cases since the pandemic, which means that a lot of people who had millions of pesos actually improved their houses, no? A total of 6 depots were even open during this 9-month period from 2021, two of which opened in the third quarter, and to date, there are 7 depots and one home essential. So, grabe, the way that Wilcon's moving reminds me of how the US Wayfair, the ticker symbol is Wayfair. Wayfair actually had a lot of people also buying up furniture, a lot of furnishing. Actually, in the US, even the real estate sales has been booming. Here in the Philippines, I haven't seen real estate sales report this great of a number. Mostly pathetic real estate sales in the Philippines. But it could recover, of course. I just don't know if it will grow next year, no. Operating expenses is 740 million, increasing by 16%. Operating expenses up 10%. So let me just say that the income of the Whalecon is an amazing performance. This is just one of the few companies in the Philippines. We can just name drop them, no? Whalecon, Aboitizes, the Aboitiz Power, the Union Bank. We also saw Emperador do very well. In fairness, Pure Gold did very well in their earnings. So we all covered these companies in our deep dives, and I hope that if you're watching this for the very first time, please don't forget to like, subscribe, go to our Awesome10X channel, and do go again to our deep dives about these companies. So even Monde Nissan hasn't reported earnings, and I would agree that we like the IPO 13.5, but here about 17. If it rallies 17, 18, you will see temporary lots of sellers, even at current levels of 1650. I think the reasons are really obviously inflation. At some point in time, $85 oil worldwide is going to have a lot of impact, whether you admit it or not. So actually, Jollibee moving up is to me more of an aberration rather than a consensus buy. I'm not sure if maybe I'm weird, but I think the Jollibee here about 245. The year-to-date gains of Jollibee are already very strong. Perhaps this has to do with sales recovery worldwide, mostly the abroad sales, siguro. But I am skeptical. I'm a bit skeptical of this strength on restaurants. Until we see the real recovery, no, I'm not sure if it's really a strong recovery. Okay, yeah, so let's just go through the IPOs. The IPOs that are coming up is Synergy Grid. This is a follow-on public offering. So this is as of October 26, 2021. Let's just read through this. You've got a reason for them to actually be listed. And I'll just read through the rules and the news. Ito, an investor's briefing will be held via Zoom, and then a copy of the invitation is attached. So yun, hindi natin kailangan to go to the Zoom. Tapos na yun, we'll just be reading the details. Follow on public offering. Okay, so these are some of the IPOs that are coming out to the Philippines. Synergy Grid. Okay, let's read this. All the local small investors can invest using PSE's EC program. And then, okay, so this is going to be a follow-on offering. What is the difference for the people who don't understand? What is the difference of an IPO versus a follow-on offering? In an IPO, the term is initial public offering. It means initial. There's nobody selling it out. When you say it's an FOO, pag initial, the primary shareholders, no? It goes to the company. The money goes to the company. Unlike kapag FOO, an FOO tells you that a follow-on offering is a secondary shares, no? Para siyang nagbenta after. Kaya nga, may IPO, which is initial, number 1. FOO is secondary, number 2. So there's a secondary sale. So follow-on offering of SGP, Synergy Grid, is gonna be listed at 12 pesos. I saw the news. Sige, let's just go through the news details. So basahin natin to. Synergy Grid sets an FOO share price at 12 pesos a piece. Philippines China back power grid operator is avoiding an IPO using an FOO, follow-on offering. So in the follow-on offering, the money doesn't go straight to the company. It goes through the selling shareholders as well. So read natin guys. So the majority stockholder of the Philippines power grid operator has a lot of controversies, including the Chinese ownership. You'll see that the power grid is actually 40% owned by China, and Synergy Grid is selling 1.15 million shares at 12 pesos a piece, including an over allotment. So how much will they raise when you do that? Well, $12 million. So mga 12 times 0.15 is how much? 集地上这个是$12,180,000. Yun. So 12.18 million. Tama ba? Or tama ba? Sorry, ang bagal ko. 12 times 0.15 is 1.8 pala. Hindi pala 0.18. So 13.8 million. Okay, rusty na tayo eh. Rusty na yung math natin. Okay, so yun. Sapsatang pwe, that's about how much? Sapsatang pwe divided, sapsatang pwe became, sabihin na natin, $14 million times 50. Guys, magkano ba yun? 14 times 50 is 700 million pesos? Huh? Tama ba? Tama, 700 million pesos. Eh bakit dito $274 million? Basahin natin ulit. The $274 million sales is also intended to save the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines from possible regulatory troubles. So you could see that the biggest reason for this follow-on offering has to do with regulation. The NGCP right now has a monopoly when it comes to electricity transmission network, which has been facing scrutiny and threats for franchise revocation over a string of issues, including their long overdue public offering and allegations of a Chinese control. So NGCP is now required to sell 20% of the shares to the public or list a shareholder owning at least 30% of the company under the PSE's 2008 legislative franchise. They have opted to comply, which indirectly means that they will control, the listing of Synergy will control 60% of the company. So what's happening here is that the Filipinos who have a stake with NGCP has a way to cash out. So pag follow-on offering, somebody's selling, if you're ever wondering, and those are coming from the shares of the primary or the secondary. So the share sale will now be lifted to the public. So example, I think some of the share owners here are Henry C. Jr. and the Coyuto family. So they will be selling at least 20% to the public. And this is required by the PSE. Else, if they don't do that, it will result in a delisting. Okay, so it says here that there will be a share swap transaction where the Filipino shareholders shrank its public float to 0.25%. So 59.75% is going to be public, with 20% to public float. Synergy plans to use the proceeds to subscribe to non-voting preferred shares, which is bankrolling a network expansion. So far, the National Grid Consortium is owned by Filipino tycoons Henry C. Jr., Robert Coyuto Jr., and the technical partner, which is State Grid Corporation of China, which now owns 40% of the company. In 2007, the group won the bid to run the country's power transmission, granting a 25-year franchise. It started the operations in 2009, required to conduct a share sale within 10 years, but it cited unfavorable market conditions. So after 2019, since hindi pa rin na-list, ngayon nangyayari 2021. If they don't meet the deadline, so they will face dilution. That's why they are rushing this IPO. So even with the share price, and I think, so the share sales was, if you're asking me why the share sale is 12 pesos, it's likely because they're in a rush sale. So I think it was started before at 17 pesos. They were trying to sell it at 15 to 17. Now they're doing it at a lower end price point, possibly because of this, the timing, no, that they really need to do this within November. So stock market investors are anticipating $1 billion or $2 billion IPO. Grabe, that is a what? 50 billion pesos by NGCP. Okay, so an IPO is gonna have greater public scrutiny. So tama nga. 50 billion IPO yung market cap, times mo na lang ng 20%, that's 10 billion pesos, which is roughly in line dun sa binila natin na 14 billion pesos kanina. Yeah, so all right, 14 billion pesos. Yeah, so okay. Taking that route will keep. Sorry, parang may mali. 14 billion pesos is how much? Sampa Bikim yun. Sampa Tang Bikim yun. $300 million yun. Sakto dun sa 273M. 1 billion shares ata to guys. Hindi ata to million. This has to be 1 billion shares. So may mali yata si Nikkei Asia. It has to be 1.15 billion shares. Hindi siya million. Okay, yeah. Yun yung rough. Tama. Kasi 1.15 billion times 24 cents is roughly about $250 million, 230 million. Ayun. Okay, so meanwhile, the ERC is gonna have also a say on NCGP's fate. Let's give you a pro and con, no, just by reading the news. It seems as if there will be a lot of political issues here, no? Just by looking here, this long delayed share sale and the Chinese ownership minamadali. Senators are even asking whether the Chinese can just shut off the grid remotely if Chinese are holding key positions in a company. So NGCP chief executive, of course, said that no, the Chinese is just more of a board, not doing management function. So yon, but the thing is, state of China owns 40% of this NGCP. Okay, so it says here too that we cannot comment about the IPO pang Baldo Digal. Who's Baldo Digal? He's the ERC commissioner. We need to see first what will be the submission and compliance file before we can rule. So the only negative here is more of the controversy marred by the fact that the biggest monopoly of electric distribution, transmission network in the Philippines is 40% owned by China. So there's that controversy. Oh, it will create noise every now and then, which could have been the reason why FOO share price is also 12 pesos a piece. Take a look at this news, no? So tama nga, 1.15 billion, not million. Yeah, so it used to be 15 to 25, now it's about 12 to 17. Nonetheless, they're also saying here na I read in a news report that they have a plan to give about 7% dividends. So, and also, just like a typical electricity distribution, diba, transmission network, says here that the current price range is going to be around 6 times to 9 times forward PE ratio, which is relatively attractive for the power generation sector or power distribution sector. Said price is going to be offered from October 26 to November 2. Just by reading through these news bits about Synergy Grid, let's try to see how an electricity transmission network even works. Kasi kahit ako, I don't know how they make money. I saw in the news that they make about revenues of 47 billion pesos, but I also don't understand like how much percentage ba talaga yung kinikita ng isang ganitong business. So basics of an electrical power transmission system. So we all know that, of course, the Philippines needs electricity. So in terms of the pros here, it's a utility, it's a monopoly, and there's really no alternative. No, if you need to be with a utility, you have no choice but to be working with NGCP, which makes it a compelling investment for other people, simply because of the fact na, monopoly to ng government. The question really is, okay, is this government of the Philippines gonna be giving out those dividends as planned? So those are also questionable. I'm not saying that it's questionable, but ako kasi, Meralco, it's proven. We've been seeing 5% dividends every year. So if this is really gonna pay 7% dividends, to see is to believe. Obviously, if ganon, people will really buy it up. So electrical power transmission involves the bulk movement of electrical energy from a generating site. So you've got power plants to an electrical substation where voltage is transformed and distributed to consumers or other substations. I've read in mga news reports that, of course, since Philippines is predominantly, distribution of electricity is predominantly monopolized as well by Meralco, that is the largest client of NGCP. So the interconnection lines enable the movement of electrical energy. This is known as the transmission network, more commonly known as the power grid. This is the cause of brownouts as well. So pag nagkaroon ng problem, yung brownout, it's because we lack that network transmission system. Is this IPO necessary for the Philippines? The answer is yes, para wala tayong brownout sa future. So we really as a country need to invest in these. So let's just go through this. When you are generating at a power station, electric energy will typically be anywhere between 11 kV and 33 kV. I don't know what that is. Is it like kilovolts? Whatever that is. Basta it has to do with mga kilowatts and volts, la la la. So okay, so it has to do with the transfer of large quantities of electricity to every home. So, okay, so basically, it is a business that we know is a legit utility business. Problem is, I don't know. Yun nga, the only problem here, I think, is it's a government regulatory overhang. So every time it's a monopoly, you always have questions on how utility has to earn money, how much electricity transmission network costs have to be, magpaparoll back ba, la la la. So it has a way to actually fix your prices. Yun lang. But so I wouldn't give a comment. If people are asking me, Nikki, will you invest in Synergy Grid? I'd be on a wait and see. Hindi ako sigurado. It's too... plus, I really don't want to be involved with controversial issues. So yun lang ako. Let's take a look. Yeah, thanks. So it's 1 billion shares. So it's about 1 billion shares is 12 billion pesos, guys. This is a huge IPO. When people also ask me about Synergy Grid, they also like to ask, mapapump ba to on the investment time frame of, let's say, 6 months? And I tell them, 12 billion pesos is a lot of money. I don't think it will get a pump. Unlike the other IPOs like All Day or Keeper Holdings, which is like less than 1 billion pesos ata. It does not reflect my fundamental view. I'm just saying that when people think about the short term, it has nothing to do with the valuation. If this has dividends, obviously my buyer to, diba? The buyer here will be anyone who likes the Meralco profile. But as a Meralco profile, the difference, and you'll ask me, no, why would I invest in Synergy Grid when I can just invest in Meralco? Two things will happen here. Pag umangat tong Synergy Grid, baka Meralco goes up, or some Meralco shareholders might actually split some of their Meralco towards Synergy Grid. Kasi the way I see it, parang they work hand in hand. Let's just give you more ideas, no? I read yung mga available. Sige, basahin na lang natin lahat ng news. Says here, small investors can even buy up to 1 million pesos worth of Synergy shares. So if you think about it, it's such a huge IPO. This is a 14 billion peso IPO. If you're looking for a quick flip there, hindi niya kaya i-quick flip yan sa laking amount of money, guys. So, magtataka ka rin kung ma-flip mo yan. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it can. Hindi ko sure. Pero sa bagay, some people are looking at this from a dividend perspective. Oo. Sabi nga nito, the EBITs could translate to a dividend yield of 7% due to the incentives given to NGCP. Guys, itong mga incentives na to, ito yung mga questionable things sa akin eh. I don't know how a company that monopolized the entire distribution network of the Philippines should earn. Kasi pwede sabihin ng government, uy, todo ka na mag-charge ng mga consumers. Pwede bang ganito na lang? Because this is not just true for the Philippines. Almost all utilities in the world, especially like in Hong Kong, nire-regulate yan. Like, hindi ka pwedeng to earn so much money. Kasi monopoly ka na nga eh. You're supposed to be giving a service to the people. So, I don't know. That's all I'm saying. I'm not bearish, but all I'm saying is, can I flip? The answer, I think, is a no. If I'm buying this for the long term, is it a long-term stock? I also don't know because hindi nga siya, wala pa akong track record sa mga ganitong names. Bago pa eh. Like, kung gusto mo rin naman ng mga utilities, dun ka na sa Meralco. At least, nakita na natin how Meralco is being ran for about 10 years and so, or so. Listed naman yun sa public market. So, there will be upside. Lahat naman ng stocks may upside eh, I think. Lalo na if strong yung market sentiment. And I think naman may strong market sentiment But is the upside too tempting? Di rin siguro. I think at most 10% or 15%. So for the risk then, I don't know, parang that's all I can say. I will just stay out of this IPO. And good luck na lang for the people who will, sorry, it's not an IPO, it's a follow-on offering, FOO. And I'm okay to miss out. That's all I'm saying. If you put ₱1,000,000 here and then it goes up, good for you. Parang, wow, galing. Ganun lang. So, thanks for watching, guys. And visit this site again. Visit our YouTube channel again every Wednesday for our deep dives on the Philippine markets. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay na. Pwede nang end.